If you want to live in the world of publishing, but you haven't actually published anything, do you really even exist? Let's talk about this. What's up, everybody? This is Marshall Lee of DonkeyJawProjects.com, and today I wanted to talk about self-publishing your comics. And, this also goes for other things, music and novels and things like that. But I have 7 tips that I want to share with you, and let's get to it. So the first tip is publish or perish. This is, this is actually an academic idea that has to do with, like people who are more in the world of scholars and scientists and things like that, who publish things in academic journals and things like that. And there's this whole debate within that, industry, I guess you would call it, or whatever you would call it, that world of publish or perish. But I've also heard creative people talk about it, and I could see where the criticism comes for this term in academia, because some of the stuff they're doing, especially in like scientific journals and stuff, you don't want to publish things without, with kind of losing the quality because you're focusing on putting journals out. But it is something that can help somebody's career. But especially in the world of fiction writing and comic books, things are a little less life or death. So, I think it can be excused a little bit more. But this is similar to the topic I've done before of quality or quantity, but there's something more I want to talk about here. But so publish or perish. So this kind of goes with the idea of publishing more works. And this comes from me being a creator who's created for a long time, but I've done a lot of preparatory work more than actually getting comics out or music out or whatever it is that I've tried to create. And I feel like it's to my detriment. And being at the age I'm at now, I feel like I want to, there's an urgency where it's time to really start putting, the tires to the road, or whatever the saying is, and make it happen. And, there is a couple different sides to the coin, and we'll get into that. But this idea of publish or perish, I think if you want to live in the world of publishing, then you have to publish, or else you literally don't exist, because in the world of publishing is populated with published works. And if you don't have published works in that world, you don't actually technically exist. So it's easy to get in the trap of preparing or creating but never actually publishing, and I've been in that trap a lot in my life, and I'm doing a lot better now, but I want to do even better. So that's kind of that concept. Number 2, start with what you have. Don't let anything be an excuse. You have to use the resources you have at hand. Start with what you have. You can move into and evolve into stuff much more sophisticated, where you're like doing amazing books for other publishers and things like that, and even for your own publishing, and get hardbound books with like special covers and different prints and all kinds of different things. You can get really sophisticated with this stuff, but start with what you have. If you're me, I literally just came from Staples. I printed a bunch of mini comics up. They messed it up the first time. I had to go in and have them fix it. So they did, and that's awesome. But I'm literally printing stuff up on computer paper and cardstock and making it happen in my own little way, and my patrons get it. So if you're interested in getting some free mini comic, not free, but if you're interested in getting some mini comics, every once in a while I send actual physical mini comics to my patrons, and they dig it. So go check that out. But anyways, so start with what you have. Whatever skill you have, whatever money you have, whatever resources you have, start with that. And if it's not up to your liking, start with what you have, and then build up to the thing that you would eventually really want to create. That's what I'm doing. That's what a lot of people have done, and I think it's a great path. If you want to check out a video I did, I'll put a card up that talks about starting your first comic using mini comics, and it'll help you to do just that. Number 3, fast but not feverish. Now, when I was talking about the quality versus quantity thing, I had a lot of people discuss that with me, close friends, some not so close, whatever, just people in the audience. And one of my good friends, Adam Lohr, actually sent me a private video to talk about it a little bit, and he shared with me some things that people have said in the past that might give me some perspective on it. And Dave Sim, who created Cerebus, he, was known for talking a lot about the industry and things like that, and how to be a self-publisher in his Cerebus comics. And one of the things, I guess, that I think it came from him, I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it came from him. But basically this idea of, yes, you want to try to get to the point where you're publishing fast, but not feverish. So it's more about efficiency. So the quicker you can publish, of course, that's going to help you start to make more and more progress. And I've noticed the same thing with me doing one comic offering a month on Patreon, that it's grown. I only have 12 patrons, but it's growing. Every month it seems like I get 1 or 2 more, and it's really cool. And it's just at a very ground level, but even at that level, I'm growing a little bit. And as I keep going and things get more sophisticated and I do better and better work, it's going to get better and better. But the point is that I'm producing things, and they might be on a small level now, but eventually they're going to be just the same type of stuff that you would find in any, bookstore or comic book store. And maybe even better, who knows? So anyways, yes, you just want to focus on becoming more and more efficient with each project. You don't want to go feverish to the point where you're putting out really bad quality work on a consistent basis. I mean, I'll be honest, you're going to start off and your quality's not going to be the most amazing. The mini comics I'm producing right now aren't the most amazing thing I probably could produce, but I'm working on getting better with every comic, and I think that my next thing's only going to be better. And every time I'm trying to level up in my efficiency and also in my quality. So both are very important. Number 4, your vision is worth telling. And this is the thing, like, that's some of my favorite comics are those that have a vision, like a single vision behind it. People like Frank Miller have done things like Sin City and Dark Knight Returns, and you got a lot of people who have done single vision comics, and those are usually my favorite because they kind of have more control over really bringing across the thing they want to bring across. So anyways, the thing is that you probably have a vision for something you want to make. Maybe you have a lot of ideas, and the only one who's really going to be able to faithfully bring that into the world is you. So self-publishing is a great way to do that, and I just would encourage you to really make that happen. I'm really inspired by people like J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and so many other authors. I mean, I think of them a lot, but Stephen King, all these people, they have a vision for something that they would like to do, and if they didn't take the time to make it happen, we wouldn't be enjoying them to this day. Jack Kirby, Stanley, all that stuff, like all the great comic creators. So yeah, your vision is worth telling, so definitely do that. And we want to see that. You're giving something new to the world that not everybody will, nobody would have ever seen. You're like actually giving to the world something cool. So do it, make it happen. Number 5, habitually creating. Now, this is the thing. Something that has changed my life creatively is the 100 Days of Making Comics. And this is a challenge started by Kevin Cross, where you work on your personal comic project for at least 30 minutes every day for 100 days in a row, and I've done that multiple times. Now I'm working on 365 days of making comics for the second year, and that's just my own personal challenge for me. But basically, this idea of working at least a half an hour every day on my comic has made a huge difference in my life, and I've produced more because of it. So get into the habit of creating, not, I'm gonna get to this someday. No, you have to get to this on a daily basis. At least do something towards pushing your project forward, because it's worth it. You really got to get your vision out there. If you want to, you have to work hard at it. So number 6, the compound effect. Now this, has to do, it's related with the publisher Paris thing and all that, and all these things are related. But the thing is, a lot of times it's been said in the publishing industry, like with novels and things like that, that people don't actually really pay attention to you until you've got your like third book of a series out, or your third published book out. It doesn't have to be even of a series, but and I think with each consecutive one, then people buy that, and then they start going back to your earlier work, and they'll buy the earlier stuff too. Your first book might be really good, but they're not going to pay attention until they see that you're committed to creating awesome things on a pretty consistent basis. So I think about like people like Stephen King. When you think of Stephen King, you don't necessarily think of one specific property. You think of a lot of different things he's done. You might think of Carrie, or you might think of It, or you might think of Misery, or you might think of Stand By Me, or you might think of Shawshank Redemption. All of these things have been huge in our culture, and he made them all. There's a lot of other things that he's created too. The Shining, like there's so many, properties he's created. And so, but he didn't build that, he wasn't he wasn't Stephen King until he had gotten a few of those under his belt. And then, he finally became known for doing what he does, which is something actually kind of odd. You would typically call him like a horror writer, but he's really a writer of like stories that sometimes are in horror genre, but usually have some kind of supernatural element. But he's done things that are totally not that as well. So, we know who Stephen King is, and it's because he's done so much work, and this compound effect has happened to where, there's so much of his work in the world. It's hard to even imagine all of it. So there, he's a big inspiration for me, and that's what we can do on our own small level as well. Is the more we create, the more momentum we're going to get as a creator. So it's definitely worth it to publish as much things as you can with the best quality you possibly can. Now, this is going to bring me to the seventh thing, which is ideas don't exist. Now, this is the thing. Like, I'm not trying to say publish quicker and make bad work. That's not what I'm trying to say. Both quantity and quality are very important. But it is, quantity is part of that equation. And, the thing is, and when I say quantity, some people have one big, amazing work in them, and that's what they need to do. I think of my buddy Joshua Kemble, who's making a comic right now, and he's been working on the same comic for a couple of years, but he publishes each page as it comes out as a web comic. So he is publishing a lot, technically. So that's actually one really cool way you can do it as a comic artist. You can do a web comic, and that's one approach of doing it. So he's publishing a lot, but he's working up to one full book eventually, and there's going to be sections and stuff. So that's really cool. So if you have like a bigger project in mind, and you just not into doing like little small projects like I like to do, then that's fine. You can just do that one big project. I think again of Tolkien. C.S. Lewis and Tolkien were good friends, and if it wasn't for C.S. Lewis being his friend, he was somebody who was more prolific as a writer. He wrote many books, whereas Tolkien pretty much wrote The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. Other than that, his other stuff isn't as substantial. At least, there's some substantial stuff he's done for sure, but that's what he's known for. That's kind of his big world that he created. That's kind of, and he wasn't even really caring to necessarily publish this stuff. He was just writing them, and his buddy C.S. Lewis had to push him over and over and over till he finally was like, okay, I'll publish it. And when he did, it blew up. And it went through wavering things throughout the years, but now it's like, this is like, what if C.S. Lewis did not push Tolkien to publish that amazing work? We wouldn't have what we have now, the movies, the books. I mean, it's just a whole amazing world. Even some of the mythology would probably not exist the way it does, like with fairies and elves and wizards and stuff like that. That stuff already existed, but would it be what we think of it now if it wasn't for Tolkien doing the work he did? I don't know. I think he made his mark in a way that really affected a lot of other creators. So you can have your big work, but it doesn't exist. Your idea doesn't exist until you actually execute it on it and you actually put it out, So in my mind, I'm like, I'm already feel like I'm somewhat of, and I have like all these amazing ideas. Like I feel like, sometimes I kind of feel like maybe people should realize, but they don't realize because I haven't put enough awesome work out yet. So I gotta show that I can actually put that stuff out for people to finally realize, oh, Marshall makes some cool stuff, So, again, the ideas don't exist until you actually put them out, and you can do it, some people do kind of the Stephen King route where you put all kinds of different ideas out into the world, and some people have one big idea they really want to push more than anything, and they work on that and make it an amazing piece of artwork. So I'm going to do some more videos about self-publishing as well, kind of hitting on different topics and stuff, but this is kind of like the beginning of it. But I also did do some other stuff, showing how to make your own comic and everything, make your own mini comic and stuff. So I'll put those links in the end cards in the card here. So hopefully you guys dig it. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if you've ever published anything or what you plan on publishing in the future. All right, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.